Let's talk about this with Kevin Hurley. He's a former detective chief superintendent at the Met Police. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. The question I'm asking our audience is, why does our justice system keep getting it wrong? Can you answer that for us?
Really, because people who make decisions are not prepared to face the reality that people will commit crimes if they don't think they're going to get caught and get a significant sanction.
Oh, hold on a minute. You've said far too much common sense there. They'll never understand it.
Well, that's right. And to go further, you need, particularly if the offender is younger, for the consequences to be almost immediate.
Yeah.
So turning to knife crime, and just so people are aware of my background on this, I led Operation Blunt 2 in 2008 in the Met, where we had 29 youth murders. 4 years later, we were down to 8 youth murders. So I come from a background where I can say my team probably saved 100 lives and stopped another 300 going to prison for life.
That's a life well led, I say. I think you've done a good job, yeah. But then what do you make, for instance, the zombie knife-wielding thugs will be entitled to compensation under a nationwide amnesty, despite the weapons already being banned twice before. But basically, if you own all these lethal blades, you can get £10 per knife that you hand in under a month-long surrender scheme that starts on August the 26th. I mean, we want these knives off the streets, but you shouldn't be, if you want to hand it in, hand it in. But why are we paying out a tenner to kids handing in, knives they shouldn't have anyway?
I mean, Julia, I laugh at these ideas. They're given by people who haven't got a clue in police leadership. They're suggested by people on the edges who don't understand it. Unless you've got immediate consequences for carrying a knife, and there's a high probability that you will be stopped and searched and found in possession of it, it's not going to stop. Because they take the knives out of their mum's kitchen drawer. It's simple. I laugh at these people. The knives are out of the mum's kitchen drawer, or the screwdrivers are out of their once present father's toolbox. That's as simple as that. These are laughing.
But the thing,
you have to bite the bullet.
And this is the thing. We're often told, well, prison's not a deterrence, these kids don't which hurt. But actually, prison isn't a deterrence because your chances of going to prison are virtually zero. It's 5.5% of crimes on average. And that includes whether it's rape or whether it's, shoplifting. Shoplifting's even lower than that, that you're actually, the chance of you committing a crime, being caught, being prosecuted, being convicted and going to jail. So there is no deterrence because people don't think it's going to happen. And it's the same as when I talk about parenting a lot on the show. If the odds are you can get away with doing something you're not supposed to be doing, you're not going to get caught, you're not going to get punished even if you are caught, then there's no penalty, there's no risk, they may as well do it. And they are acting rationally a lot of the time, these criminals. I know that a lot of them are on, people are on drugs and the like, but actually they act rationally. They know they're not going to get caught, they're going to make money, they're going to live a life of crime, and they don't care. We need to make them care again.
Of course, that's generally true, but if we look at knife crime, most of the people who carry knives are young teenagers. And there isn't a facility in the UK, really, where you can put these young people into secure accommodation. Because most of what you might have called the youth custody centres, or once they were called borstalls or approved schools, have all gone. So there's this great move, understandably, to prevent young people from going into the criminal justice system who do silly stuff. But equally, those who are potentially out there going to take people's lives with knives, they need to know there's a sanction. And Julia, can I just make one point of anyone, one of these hand-wringers who says, oh, stop and search doesn't work. In 2010, we had a terrible murder in the booking hall at Victoria Railway Station, where 15 kids from a school in Notting Hill went to have a fight with a bunch of kids from a school in Fulham. One of the kids in Fulham was stabbed to death by about a dozen of them, and they all went to youth custody for a long time. What we found on the phone of the kids who went from Fulham was, don't go through Hammersmith Broadway on the tube. The feds are really hot and stop and search there.
There you go.
Go on the bus.
There you go. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing. They know where they're going to be caught, where they're not going to be caught. Although pretty dumb to do it at a station where there's loads of CCTV. So they're not very bright, that's for sure. But this thing, the thing that people find so frustrating is that, people, look, people should go to jail for serious crimes, but we often see cases where someone has been caught with, say, horrific amounts of child. I use it as well. The word porn. It's not porn. It's images of child sexual abuse. It's not pornography. They can't consent to it. And I know people I've worked with who haven't had, frankly, enough jail time, given the horror that those children have had to go through for their sexual gratification. And yet, at the same time, we see some cases where people have sent a tweet that someone doesn't like, and then they go to jail for a couple of years. But in the case of this report in the Telegraph today, career criminals, some people with more than 100 previous convictions are not going to jail. More than 4,000 cases since 2007, offenders have avoided prison. And the proportion walking free from court has quadrupled in the last 16 years. And an average of 5 criminals a week are being spared jail every single week in each of the past 10 years, even though they have a criminal record as long as your arm. That is an epidemic of poor justice, isn't it?
Well, I mean, Julia, at the door of the last 14 years of government, where they failed to build enough prisons, they closed down magistrates and Crown courts. They took, for example, $1 billion out of the budget of the Metropolitan Police, and they decimated the probation service. The last government are responsible for this legacy, whether or not I want to say it or not. That's a fact.
Yeah.
You can't build a prison overnight.
Yeah. Oh, I think you've frozen. We got you back.
What they should have done is probably built another 10 to 20,000 prison spaces.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. If you haven't got the prison capacity, then there's nowhere to put them.
Yeah, and again, even the people but the people they're putting behind bars from the rioting, they're literally freeing up spaces with other convicted criminals. Imagine what you have to do, unless you've just written a tweet, to go to jail these days. And they're freeing those people, not getting proper probation help, and just replacing with others, rather than adding that extra space. Can I ask you one final question, though, about the Metropolitan Police? They're in the news as well. The latest His Majesty's report of inspectorate into the Metropolitan Police basically says they're failing in pretty much all of the things they're supposed to do. They were rated as requires improvement or inadequate across 7 of the 9 areas that they are assessed on. That includes the rather crucial matters of investigating and preventing crime.
I mean, bottom line, you take £1 billion out of the budget of the Metropolitan Police. You closed more than 60% of the police stations in the country. You closed down training schools across the country, and you cut the base salaries of police officers take home by between 20 and 25%. Don't be surprised.
Why does that mean you can't do your job properly?
Because you can't retain staff. I'll give you a personal example. My son is the 9th member of my family to join the police.
Yep.
The 6th detective. He was in the Metropolitan Police for 16 years, a detective sergeant, used to ring me up and say, Dad, I've caught a burglar, I've caught a rapist, and so on. He walked out of the door last year to the private sector because he'd had enough of the organisation, the cuts in pay, the shortage of resources, if you like, the revolving door justice. Right. When people like my son walk out of the police, then we have got a problem.
That's a very fair point. Kevin, really appreciate you joining us. Kevin Hurley there, former Detective Chief Superintendent in the Met Police.